All right. Well, we never got to see the white smoke coming out of the Kevin Durant trade talks. Durant is still in a Brooklyn Nets uniform, like I thought would happen. He is not traded. Brooklyn and Kevin Durant and his partnership with the boardroom announced in a statement. Listen, I've said I've seen a lot of different things. I've never seen a team and a player release a statement for a player that's under contract for 4 more years, saying that they're going to continue their partnership. But I guess when you have something as public as the Durant situation right now, that's something that you're going to have to do as far as make it known to the world that Kevin Durant is still going to be in Brooklyn. He's going to be there for training camp. There's no inclination that Brooklyn is going to trade him. There was nothing that essentially ever got close. I think you can rewind all the way back to June 30th when Kevin Durant asked to be traded. I thought there was a 48-hour window if there was going to get a deal done. The designated rookie extension rules probably hindrance. The Rudy Gobert trade, as we've talked about, probably hurt as far as what Brooklyn was going, the asking price was going to be. I think you look at teams who were not willing to gut their roster and still stay at a championship level. I think a lot of that all comes into factor. Certainly Brooklyn not having their own first-round picks came into play. A lot of different factors weighed in. We went through them ad nauseum from the time Durant asked to be traded on June 30th to all the articles we've written. We've said, hey, it's fine for a player to ask to be traded. I have no issues. We wrote about it last week. Everyone's going crazy about player empowerment. And I talked to a smart executive, and he said, Brooklyn, they could just say it's no. All the Nets have to do is just say no. That's it. Come to camp. Like, we live in a world where, like, all of a sudden a player asks to be traded, and now the guy's got to go. Well, if you're a good enough front office, you can manage situations like that, right? If you've got enough structure in your front office and your coaching your staff, when a player gets asked to be traded, you can manage situations like that. So this whole player empowerment stuff, it just drives me goddamn crazy as far as where we are. And as I said last week, guys have been asking to be traded for 40 years here. So Kevin Durant asked to be traded, and essentially Brooklyn said, no, we're not trading you unless we're going to get the sweetheart of all sweetheart deals, and that's not going to happen. I said on NBA Today that this Nets team, on paper, is the best team that Durant had to play with in Brooklyn. Not in Golden State, in Brooklyn. When you look at what they were able to do, and I think from a TV perspective, the league looked at the situation when the schedule came out as it being too toxic to put them on Christmas Day, to put them on the marquee games on ABC on the weekend here, to the TNT Tuesdays and Thursday nights, and that's why Brooklyn did not get a lot of games compared to last year when or the year before when they were basically intact here. That had a lot to do with it, I'm sure. I'm not inside those meetings. But from Brooklyn's perspective, the perfect trade never came along, and you can do one or two things here. You can either put on your big boy pants and meet with Kevin Durant and say this is what the situation is going to do or be, or you can let this fester into training camp and let a toxic situation become more toxic situation when you have Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, and now Kevin Durant to kind of figure out as far as managing egos here. And I give everyone credit that they went from the kids' table to the grown-up table, and they figured it out at least for right now. Guys, we live in a day-to-day world, right? We live in a day-to-day world that a week from now, Kevin Durant could ask to be traded. A month from now, 2 months from now, in February, he could ask to be traded. We could be back at this situation. Basically, it's kind of a Band-Aid on everything, and everyone realized for the health of everyone, for the health of Kevin Durant to build back his trade value, for the health of Brooklyn to win games, so there's not disruptions here, that everyone had to be on the same page here. And I think that's what you saw when it comes to this basically the statement that was released that I said I never seen happen in my, I guess we're almost hitting 30 years as far as covering the NBA. So Durant is in a Brooklyn uniform. We'll see him in training camp. My big question is going to be, and I'm writing this season preview for all 30 teams with Kyrie. The Kyrie situation is going to be interesting because what happens if Kyrie plays at a high level, is healthy? Does Brooklyn extend him, right? Like 4 years, 200 million plus. Will Brooklyn give him an extension, or will they wait until next offseason? Because what happens next offseason if Kyrie walks for nothing, and then Durant is looking at a situation with Ben Simmons? So I think like this chapter all of a sudden is not closed, right? Like yes, Durant has basically pulled his trade request. Brooklyn basically said that we're not trading him here. But as I said, we all live in this honeymoon period in the offseason. But when you start playing games and you get a little bit of adversity, what's going to kind of manifest? Are we going to be revisiting the same situation here? So the Kyrie situation is going to be fascinating. Where is this Brooklyn team when healthy? I've said probably a top 4 team, but it's on paper, and I think it's probably a little bit of a disrespect to Miami, Philadelphia, Boston, Milwaukee, Toronto, some of these other teams that, let's face it, are more cohesive. But we'll all know about that in about 2 months here. So
thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.